Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're once again talking about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I really want to give my full thoughts on the game. Not that I've beaten it, because Lord knows it's going to take me forever and a half, but I've spent enough time with the game at this point to where I've formulated some opinions, I have taken some stances, and so I want to, I guess, review the game, but this is not going to be kind of your standard review where I break down, every mechanic, every detail of the story for you guys. This is going to be a much more bullet point style format. Some things that I loved about the game and some things that, yes, I hated. But before we do, I would just like to say that as of the recording of this video, we have 88 subscribers. Yeah, we gained 2 since the last time I did this. Shoutouts to you. But yeah, if you enjoy my content, you like the way I present my stuff, please do consider subscribing. All right, let's talk about the first thing that I love about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and that has to be the visuals. And it's kind of funny because the visuals have been a bit of a talking point since the game's release, more specifically the graphics and fidelity, the textures, the asset pop-in, and yes, even the frame rate. And many people defend Tears of the Kingdom graphics by stating the obvious, that the game is running on outdated hardware, and that because the game is so large in scope and does so much with the world and physics, that we should, in a sense, turn a blind eye to any of the flaws. But you know what? I'll go a step further and say that graphics and fidelity simply don't matter. No matter the size or the scope of the title, what's truly important is the style. Now I'm going to make a quick comparison to another one of my favorite gaming franchises, that being Dark Souls. I mean, even Dark Souls 1, is it the most graphically intensive game you've ever seen? No, absolutely not. But you just look at the environments, the gothic architecture, the music, the foreboding, the general atmosphere. When you play this game, you just want to crawl in a hole and die. It's f***ing awesome. And I feel that Tears of the Kingdom truly falls into this same category. The Sky Islands are coated in this heavenly golden light. Hyrule exudes a sense of nature and free exploration, while the depths are drenched in darkness and disparity. It's one of those games that just makes you want to walk around and cinematically pan the camera. And I always say that's a key sign that you've got a great looking game. So no, Tears of the Kingdom is not a top tier graphical showcase. It does not have the highest of fidelities. The assets are gonna pop in. The textures look flat at times, but it still finds itself as a 10 out of 10 visual experience because it's got that incredible art style. Okay, it's time to move on to something I hate. And I can't be the only one that feels this. I cannot be the only one who has felt overwhelmed by Tears of the Kingdom. Oh my god, there is so much going on in this game. I mean, we're expected to explore the Sky Islands, Hyrule, the depths, collect Poes, Koroks, Zonai artifacts, Zonite, memories, complete side quests, shrines, lookout towers, wells, caves, enemy encampments, labyrinths, ancient mines, and any overworld puzzles that we happen to come across. And all of that is still just the tip of the iceberg. And there really is so much at times that I'm left scratching my head wondering, where do I even begin? There were definitely times where I'd be heading toward a main quest objective. I'd look over to the side and say, oh, there's a lookout tower right over there. I mean, I'm here. I'm going to have to unlock it eventually. We might as well pick it up on the way. So I go to the lookout tower. It shoots me into the sky. I'm scanning the Hyrule's surface, right? Then I'm falling down, skydiving back towards Hyrule, and I say, well, there's a bunch of Sky Islands around me that I haven't explored yet. I'm here. I might as well check them out. So I fly down to a Sky Island, finding Zonai artifacts, and wouldn't you know it, a shrine. Well, I'm here. I might as well do this shrine so I don't have to come back later. So I do the shrine, and I jump off down to Hyrule. Okay, let's get back to my objective. Wait, there's a chasm. Oh, there's a chasm right here. Well, I guess I might as well dive straight into the chasm, grab myself a light route so I can always fast travel back to that point later. Well, one light route turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into 4. I eventually emerge miles away from my initial destination, and oh, hey, there's a Korok. Let me go check out this Korok. Oh, there's a horse stable. Let me go to the horse stable. Oh, there's a side quest here. Okay, well, let's take care of this side quest real quick. I mean, at this point, am I getting the point across? This game pulls me in so many different directions, and I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Dylan, that's the point. That's how you're supposed to play the game. But I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing. There were times where I would end a play section and my time spent in the game was divided amongst so many smaller tier objectives rather than making significant gains towards a larger objective that I didn't really walk away with much sense of accomplishment. I really hope I was able to put that into words properly. I'm sure there's people watching this video who know exactly what I'm talking about, and then everyone else is like, this dude is a psychopath. But all right, let's transition back to something I love. Now this scene, this encounter was gorgeous. The music, the roar of the dragon, the sheer size and spectacle of the beast was immaculate. And what truly makes this so astonishing is the simple fact that this was not programmed to happen this way. It's not something that triggers whenever the player enters this portion of the game, but happens organically or by sheer luck. Sure, other players may have similar experiences, but this happened to me because I was in the right place at the right time. And that feeling is incredible. And man, these kinds of moments can literally happen at any time. You just never know what's going to be over the next ridge, and that feeling of discovery, that mystery, the not knowing is what really drives me a lot of the time to look under every rock, check every nook and cranny of Hyrule's surface. I mean, there was one time I got jump scared by a tree.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Do you ever feel like you've got it all figured out? Like the solution to all your problems are sitting right there at your fingertips? Don't you wish it were that easy? Well, sir or madam, let me assure you that in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it's not. The concept of Ultra Hand is incredible, and with it, myself and millions of others have created some truly incredible devices. However, you are certain to spend countless hours of your limited and precious free time building contraptions that accomplish absolutely nothing. And I get it. It's all about trial and error, and sometimes your failed creations can be pretty hilarious. But as a man with such limited free time, because being an adult is hard, I get pretty furious when I spend so much time building a contraption for it only to achieve the opposite of its intended purpose. Now, I've grown to enjoy Ultra Hand quite a bit as I've continued to progress through the game. I'm more adept with the controls and can build things in half the time as I used to be able to. And features like auto build certainly help with that as well. But thinking back to all the lost time that could have been spent doing literally anything else is a pain that will never fade. Let's talk about the story and NPCs. And don't worry, no spoilers. I am very much enjoying how the story is being laid out for us thus far in Tears of the Kingdom. Now, just like in Breath of the Wild, memories are still present in Tears of the Kingdom, but no longer are they the main mode of story presentation. In Tears of the Kingdom, you have your subplots like helping the different tribes of Hyrule with their respective issues following the upheaval. But within those side stories, the game does a great job of sprinkling in bits of information pertaining to the main plot, the bigger story. The story does a great job establishing a bit of mystery, which I thought was very interesting, provided an iconic antagonist in Ganondorf, and built upon existing characters really well from the first game. And for me, specifically speaking on Zelda, to be honest, Breath of the Wild Zelda is one of my least favorite incarnations of the character due to her whininess and the fact that she was really mean to our boy Link. And I totally get that was part of her character arc and whatnot, but I don't know, it left a sour taste in my mouth. But in Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda has been upgraded in my eyes to a total badass. I really love her role in the story and the impact she's having. And the main story aside, I feel that the world's NPCs provide some more interesting conversations and side quests. For example, in Gerudo Town, you have this tribe of Gerudo who are obviously comprised of only women. Well, deep in town, they have this school that singularly revolves around teaching Gerudo, both young and old, about men. What they look like, their mannerisms, how to get a man. And if you interact with the school, they even want you to come by for demonstrations. Talk to a random Zora in Zora's domain and she'll sing you a song about their troubles. I even found this group of Hylians at this horse stable that they're all naked. None of them wear clothes. They were apparently instructed by their masters to do so, I guess to toughen them up. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't finished that quest line yet, but needless to say, I'm interested to see where that goes. But really, the NPCs are just more refined all around and add a greater level of immersion to the world. All right, time for something I hate, and this is a big one. Now, initially, I was going to put combat in this spot, as it really hadn't evolved since Breath of the Wild in regards to how Link moves and swings his weapons, but ultimately the combat can be extremely expansive if you take the time to use fused weapons and arrows for different effects, custom machines, or the environment. It occurred to me that the base combat itself wasn't the issue, but the sheer strength of the enemies in Tears of the Kingdom. Here we have what is essentially a level 1 enemy in the starting area of the game doing 3.5 hearts worth of damage with a single blow. And what you have to realize is at the beginning of the game, you only have 4 or 5 hearts to your name, and this green Lizalfos can theoretically two-shot you all the way up to 7 hearts. And of course, enemies always travel in packs, so when battling multiple enemies, you're essentially always in danger of being two-shotted by even the weakest of opponents. And it's okay to have strong or dangerous enemies in a video game, but they should scale with the player or at least be strategically placed throughout the map so that, tougher enemies are in mid to late game areas unless you're Xenoblade. And in this clip, I'm fighting a mini boss down in the depths, doing massive damage, 5 hearts, feeling good, and then this happens. What the hell was that? I feel this happens a lot with larger enemies. Just a single little tap can drain your health and send Link flying. So yeah, in this case, it's not so much the amount of damage that bothers me, but how it happened. Now granted, 5 hearts for that little tap is maybe a bit much, and it could have been more damage. We don't know, because I ran out, but big picture, there's a lot of different types of enemies out there, from aggressive melee, long-range damage dealers, fast and quick striking, slow and AoE focused. There's just a lot of ways to get overwhelmed, and the poor balance of the enemy stats can make things pretty messy. I seriously feel like my death counter is probably double, if not triple, where it was in Breath of the Wild at this point in the game. All right, it's time to gush. Let's talk about the combining of abilities. All of the abilities are great. Even Ultra Hand, which I had gripes with early on, I have grown to enjoy it with more practice. But the puzzle solving really takes off for me once the game starts asking you to combine abilities in shrines, dungeons, or if the player sees an opportunity out in the open world. Specifically, the shrines in the later game regions are so multifaceted and bring far more creativity than most of what we saw in Breath of the Wild's shrines. All right, let's get back to a little bit of negativity. This is a more minor issue, but it's there, so I want to talk about it. There are a shit ton of items in this game, like a shit ton. Each has their own unique effect when utilized in battle, which is great, but there are so many that I oftentimes lose certain items in the shuffle. So far, I find myself just using the same 10 items throughout my playthrough, despite there being hundreds to choose from. And on the rare occasion that I do want to find a specific item to, say, attach to an arrow, it can feel like I'm sifting through an encyclopedia. How do you resolve this? Well, I do think there are quite a few items that could be removed as feasible options. Things like raw meat or bundles of wood aren't nearly as useful as, say, a fire fruit or a korok leaf, so it could probably be cut without much issue. There are also many items that have duplicate effects like your standard fire, ice, or lightning. And yes, I do know they do have varying levels of severity depending on which item you use. Some are single use while others will stick around longer. But regardless, they essentially do the same thing, so could probably be thinned out as well. Alright, something Tears of the Kingdom did so well, and I'm so happy about it, is the return of epic boss battles. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything for you here. Instead, you can watch this clip of me beating the shit out of Godrick the Grafted from Elden Ring. Thank God we no longer have anything resembling the Ganon Blights. Breath of the Wild had several standout criticisms, but the main bosses of the game were my #1 most disliked feature. The battle themselves were okay, but the severe lack of creativity in their designs or standout features that connect to the story was depressing. In Tears of the Kingdom, unique and interesting monsters make a return at the end of each dungeon, each having a characteristic that connects them directly to the issues of each region. These creatures are the direct cause of the people's misfortunes, and it's up to you to take them down. And this is something I felt was really important. In your standard, more traditional Zelda games, the bosses always had some kind of connection to the story. They had some kind of direct link to what was going on in the area. You know, just one example that always stood out to me was in Ocarina of Time, when Ganondorf strategically places King Dodongo in Eldin Volcano to cut the Gorons off from their food supply. And when you get to see those misfortunes leading up to the boss fight, I don't know, it just makes it a little bit more personal. And you might say, well, they did that in Breath of the Wild too, but again, that was just the Blight Ganons taking over the Divine Beasts and letting them run wild. I don't know, it didn't have that same feel to me. But I'm so happy to report that the battles themselves are thrilling and inventive, utilizing Link's abilities and the player's puzzle-solving skills. Ultimately, this is what I wanted from Tears of the Kingdom bosses, and if this is what we have to expect going forward, I'm happy with it. Alright, time to be sad and talk about the dungeons. Oh, the dungeons. And once again, no spoilers, don't worry about it. I'm not going to show any dungeons on the screen or nothing. Now, I'll be honest, this one is a bit of a toss-up for me, as I am mostly satisfied with the dungeons I've played thus far, but no doubt that these dungeons are not of the traditional setup we were looking for. When I think of a traditional dungeon, I think, locked doors, looping pathways and puzzles, backtracking, and a halfway point marked by a significant mini-boss. Yet in Tears of the Kingdom, we are met with a mostly linear format with smaller tier enemies sprinkled about. Of course, puzzles do still take the main stage here, but they're presented in a manner that feels more akin to a giant shrine rather than a true all-encompassing dungeon. And I'm a bit confused as to why this is the case. The Zelda team is typically fantastic when it comes to addressing player feedback, and the desire for traditional Zelda dungeons was at the top of many Zelda fans' lists. And other than longer development times or development cost, I can't really think of a good reason why a traditional style dungeon could not fit in this new open world Zelda format. And so while I think Tears of the Kingdom's dungeons are a major step in the right direction with their environmental variety and those awesome boss fights, we just talked about those, I do still believe there's room to grow here. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to end on a positive note. Let's talk about the depths. If the Sky Islands are depicted as heavenly, then the depths are most certainly hell, and My God, the soundtrack and overall design of your descent into the abyss is one of the standout moments of the entire game. The fear and isolation makes you feel so vulnerable, and the darkness makes it easy to get lost or turned around. The use of light bulbs to cut through that darkness was utilized really well, and you get a real sense of relief and progression when connecting to a light route. The loot down here is also some of the best in the game, and I'm not just talking about strong weaponry, but tons of Zonai battery upgrades and classic tunics for Link to wear. The depths were the first thing in Tears of the Kingdom to legitimately make my jaw drop, and will forever be one of the most memorable aspects of the game for me. Well, alright guys, I think that's all I've got for you this time around, but now the question is for you. Do you agree with any of my points? I would love to hear down in the comment section below what are your favorite and maybe your least favorite things about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, like, subscribe, share the video around, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.